We are at Bedford Cheese, and I am here with Tia Keenan, and today we're going to be talking about goat cheese. Tell me a little bit about the origins of goat cheese and where it even comes from and what makes something a goat cheese.
Goat cheese is cheese that's made from goat's milk.
Easy enough.
We often will call goat cheese chèvre. Chèvre is the French word for goat.
Right.
In the United States, we most commonly associate chèvre with the fresh log of goat cheese.
Right.
But technically these are all chèvres because they are goat's milk cheeses.
They're all from goats.
Goat's milk is distinctive because it has a really nice acidity. You often hear goat cheeses referred to as bright, and that's because that milk has a nice acidity and nice sort of pop.
So tell me a little bit about the history of goat cheese, because obviously goat cheese has been made for a very long time, and now it's kind of a global beloved product.
Yes, the goat cheese has been made for thousands of years. Its origins are in France. The most famous region for goat cheese making in France is the Loire Valley, where we see a lot of these fresher, younger styles.
So you've brought along 5 goat cheeses, and we're going to taste these 5 goat cheeses. They're all French goat cheeses, but they range in taste and texture.
We're going to start with Florets, which is a very mild, very creamy, what I consider like a starter goat cheese.
Right, easy if you've never
This
jumped
is
in
a
before.
total crowd pleaser. It's not an acquired taste. It's velvety and luscious. I dare you to find someone who wouldn't like this cheese. When we cut cheese, we cut it like a pie, so from the center out. I always, when we taste cheese, want to look at it first.
Oh, I just ate it.
That's okay. Smell
Look at it, eat it immediately.
Part of the reason this cheese is so nice is because it's got very clean milk. So you just get that pure expression of the milk. There's not any other kind of like funky flavors happening.
No, and the rind doesn't affect it that much.
Yeah, buttery is a good way to describe this. Not a typical description maybe for goat's milk cheeses.
Right.
But this is a really fine example of how creamy, mild, and buttery a goat's milk cheese can be.
Great. So we've got a little tiny one after the floret. Where are we going next?
So this is Croton. Croton is also from the Loire. It's named after the molds that the milk was ladled into to make the cheese. So not the mold on the cheese, but actually the form, the shape that the milk was poured into. So I'm cutting into this and I'm loving it so much because look at
Oh, it's so creamy.
how
This is
creamy
even creamier
that
than the
is.
floret.
What's nice about a small cheese like Croton is that it can get really ripe and really break down because cheese ages from the outside in, right? Because the air hits the outside first. So the smaller the cheese, the easier it is for it to age and the paste to break down and to get really creamy.
This is a great option for people who say, oh, I don't want a goat cheese because of the texture. Like, this is a completely different texture.
And you can get crotons at different ages.
So then,
Okay, so this is
Last one.
Shabby Choux de Poitou. You have that nice paste that's breaking down, but you still have the chalky center. So this has broken down from the aging in the air. And so it's gotten really creamy. Then as you get closer to the center, you get that sort of signature goat cheese.
the texture.
That texture, that almost chalky.
Firm without being hard and
And
without
you got
crumbling.
that lovely flavor from that geotrichum rind. It's slightly nutty.
None of the rinds here are overpowering.
These cheeses always eat the rind. The cheesemaker absolutely considers the rind to be a part of the finished cheese.
So we have our 4th cheese is a little bluish in color. So what is this cheese?
So this is Valençay. This is an iconic French cheese covered in ash. Ash has several functions in cheese making. The first is, as you can see, it is visually appealing.
Right, it's beautiful.
The second is that it helps neutralize the acids in the cheese so that the cheese can age properly. And it also protects the cheese.
Do you eat the rind on this cheese?
You absolutely eat the rind. Vegetable ash is what's used. It doesn't really add that much flavor.
Right.
It really is for the visual and then for the actual process of the cheese making.
For making it taste as delicious as possible.
And what is so distinctive about Valence is the shape, this pyramid shape. And the legend is that it was a pyramid cheese, and after Napoleon waged an unsuccessful campaign in Egypt, he ordered that
Cut all the tops off.
all the pyramid-shaped cheeses needed to have the tops cut off.
This is probably the most typical of the cheeses that we've had of what people think of in terms of the texture of the cheese.
Yeah, that dense, slightly
creamy
drier, but still creamy goat cheese paste. And also what's distinctive about goat's milk cheeses is the color of the milk. It's very bright white, and that is because goats, unlike cows, can process beta carotene. And so you don't see that yellow come through in the milk.
You have to have some science in our...
A little bit of science.
I
I don't want to blind you with science. But
No, I loved it.
I'm going to give you a little.
And so our last cheese is a hard cheese, and it doesn't look like a familiar goat cheese at all. So tell us a little bit about this cheese.
So this is Tom de Chèvre Batmal. It's from the French Pyrenees. It's a wash-rind cheese. So this is going to have a little bit more of an intense flavor than the fresher styles that we've had so far. I love this cheese because this is a style that people don't think of when they think of goat cheese. They don't think of harder cheeses, firm cheeses.
Well, thank you so much for helping us figure out where to be
Yeah,
taken
my
on
pleasure.
goat cheese. Really appreciate all of your advice on goat cheese. Thank you so much.
Thank you.